guys, my name is Neil and welcome to NEEL Workshop Zone. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about Python functions. So in our previous episodes, we kind of talked about, Python collection data types like lists, tuples, etc. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about Python functions. Now this video is going to be like an introduction for Python functions, and as episodes go on, I'll go a little bit more depth into it, and more practical episodes will be coming up as well. So if you haven't checked out my previous video, I recommend checking out the description where the link is present. So without any further ado, let's talk about it. So what is a function? A function is a block of code which is which only runs when it's called. So for example, we all use print, like print hello. And when you type this and when you execute the code, it just prints hello. But imagine you want to store this, but do not want to print it yet. But as you are doing the code more and more, like when you're writing a lengthier code, you want to use it afterwards, and not only afterwards but multiple times. So instead of copy and pasting it, there's a much more efficient way of doing it, and that is where functions come in. Now function is basically a block of code that runs data afterwards, and there are a lot of benefits to this. Like for example, it can be reused a lot, and second of all, it can be also a lot help a lot more easier to identify errors, exceptions, etc. So that is why functions is really helpful. Now let's talk about how to write a function. So how to write a function is, it's a little bit easier to write a function. So for example, you can use something known as def to write a function. So you can write something def my underscore function and brackets or parentheses. And then you're going to write something like print, hello plus let's just write something else, or let's just leave it here for now, and let's write another one that says something like my underscore function parentheses. So this seems pretty complicated, right? But in actuality it's not. So for example, how to write a my function code in your own way is, instead of just leaving it blank, instead of the parentheses, you have to write your own function. So you have to write, for example, something like fruit. And after that, in this my function, you have to define what it is. Like, in this, you can write something like Goa. This is an example, it's not something how we write it. But, after writing this, basically, you can also write here something like my function or fruit. So after writing something like this, what the computer does is, it says, okay, so my underscore function is a fruit. So fruit is a function, and it's telling to print hello plus fruit. And the option that you give over, like for example, if you ask something like hello plus Goa, then it just adds both of them and prints hello Goa. So you can use this print, this print statement. You can use it, after a lot of code. So you can use it after a lot of code, so that you can kind of like basically after writing this my underscore function, you can write this print and this remaining ones after you write a lot of pieces of code, so that you already have this code set up. So afterwards, when you type this, it can be reused again. So that is how functions work. Now there are also a lot of other things like arguments, which are basically how much how many strings that are printed into when you print the output, and how many strings that it prints, etc. You also have parameters, arguments, etc. But we'll most likely talk about them in the next episode. So for now, we talked about the introduction to functions and how they're used, and like how it's mostly used. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss out any new videos. And that's all folks, and see you in the next one. Bye bye.